Are you looking for inspiring conversations about faith, film, and life? You're in the right place. Here's the host who knows the right questions to ask, Father Edward Looney.
Hey everybody, it's Father Edward, and today I'm having a different type of conversation. You're always used to me having conversations about faith or film, but today I'm going to be speaking with Ed the Diver. I happened to find his page on social media. It just came up, one of those recommended pages. I was intrigued by it. I'm very intrigued by Wisconsin influencers, being a son of Wisconsin, and I started following his page and was very curious about everything that he does and the things that he has found, and I kept thinking to myself, I'd really love to have him on my podcast. And part of the reason why I did the rebrand a few months ago with the podcast, new name and such, was so that I could have conversations of a secular nature while still bringing you the regular religious content that I would normally have. And I think we can even weave God a little bit into this conversation. I don't know if Ed's a believer or not, but I think his topic really deals with the care of God's creation. So thanks so much, Ed, for joining me today on Hey Everybody, it's Father Edward.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me. And first of all, yes, I am a believer.
Well, great. So I know you're not actually in Wisconsin. Typically you are, and you're typically found in rivers and lakes and all of that. But right now you're on vacation. So I want to be mindful and respectful of that and allow you to get back to that since you so graciously agreed to have this conversation. But tell me a little bit about your kind of brand as Ed the Diver, and how did this all come about? How did you become a diver, and how did you become kind of this social media personality?
Well, it all started out teaching my kids how to fish in northeastern Wisconsin. You know, as you're fishing the walleye run, you're going to lose a lot of lures. If you're out there watching people on the shore from boats, you know, they're snagging rocks, they're snagging logs, whatever else is underwater that you can't see. So I ended up going in the water and getting them back little by little, getting my lures back, the ones that I lost, my kids lost. And then I started finding hundreds of other lures that other people lost, which then turned it into getting a mask and holding my breath and going underwater, which then turned into scuba diving and starting the social media channels. And then I'm just kind of growing my following, making videos for all those channels, started doing promotions, marketing, advertising. And then it turned into a full-time job after a few years. And here I am today.
Well, that's pretty crazy. So it all started, as you said, fishing, finding the lures that kind of came off of your line. It's kind of like a golfer who would maybe go and search the ponds at golf courses, trying to find his golf ball, and then finding everybody else's golf ball at the same time.
Exactly. And it all started out with just grabbing lures, but then I realized the need to clean up all the fishing line that was left underwater and all the bottles, the glass, the cans. There's tires, bicycles, rims, brake parts, alternators, all kinds of stuff underwater.
And so that's littering, you know. I think it's easy for people, right? Like, oh, I don't have something, I'm going to go to this bridge. Like, I grew up in Oconto, and so, you know, the bridge is there. There's two different bridges that I recall. One, you know, kind of on the main road, and then the other over maybe by McDonald Street, over by Brothers 3. And so, like, you could easily, like, just unload something. Oh, you know, like, this fell off the bridge or something. You know, and I'm sure people do that under the cover of darkness. Oh, you know, I don't want this bike anymore. I don't want to pay the recycling fee. So into the water it goes.
Yep. And I've dove both of those bridges along with the interstate bridge on the west side of Oconto. I've got so many old bottles out of there, bicycles, you know, some, you know, different kinds of wheels, tires, and some lures, a fishing magnet. So it's endless opportunities for trash and treasures.
So why does it matter that there are lures, you know, on the floor of the river or whatever waterway you're on? Because I think most people would think it doesn't really matter if they come off when you fish. Like, it's fine, you know, they'll deteriorate over time, I guess. But I reckon, too, like, if you're a swimmer and you start walking out there, you might, if you're able to touch the bottom, if it's in shallow water, you could maybe get it on your foot or something. But what's the purpose in retrieving them? Why can't they just stay there?
Well, it's a good question. I find, as you know, there's a lot of water life creatures at the bottom. You know, you got the bottom dwelling fish, you got the mud puppies, crayfish, you got all the kinds of little creatures that I don't really know the names for, but they kind of creep you out when you're collecting all this stuff. But they get tangled up in the fishing line. You know, crawfish, the line gets tangled up all up in their legs and their pinchers. Mud puppies, they get all tangled up because they always crawl through the cracks of rocks, and it's just a lot of them get all tangled up. And when I see them, I try to my best to unhook them and pick up all the mess that got them stuck in the first place.
So they kind of are stuck there, or this is just something that they're kind of tagging along with then for the rest of their existence in the water. But I'm
Yep.
sure, too, having the hook in it can probably lessen their lifespan. You know, if they're supposed to live maybe with an expectancy of several more years, this could be inhibiting them reaching their full potential.
Yep, and I do find hooks, lures stuck in fish that are then stuck on a line, stuck on a log, so they're just stuck in one spot, kind of just flailing around. And it's nice to be able to find them and give them a second chance, set them free.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about. I think a lot of us, we saw Finding Nemo back in the day, and I don't know how many variations of Finding Nemo there are, but, you kind of think about the underwater ecosystem and the fish down there, and so that fish you set free, well, now it's able to swim freely. Maybe it reconnects with its school of fish that it would have been familiar with, or that just the fact that it can return back to a normal life. There's got to be something good about releasing that fish and like feeling that yourself. Like, I made a difference in this creature's life.
Yep. And yeah, just returning to the circle of life and, to reproduce, to eat, to, survive and make a difference in our underwater ecosystem kind of thing.
So here's a crazy question, I guess. Like, we always talk about kind of like, if you buy soda bottles and you have the little plastic things that come with the soda, like, we're told we're supposed to rip them up, that, because it's good for the environment if we do that, because like birds aren't gonna be caught in them, or even the fish. So like, have you ever found evidence of kind of that plastic lining around soda bottles or whatnot in the water around fish, like creating some sort of hazard for them?
Well, I have, I do a lot of shore cleanups also. So whenever I do those, I do find, dead birds, the skeletons pretty much with that plastic wrapped around them. From the soda bottles, the wrapping that holds them together. So yeah, it is important to clean all that stuff up. And I find a lot of line on the shores also, where all the geese and ducks walk, where they're walking around with their babies. So it's like really important to clean all that stuff up.
Well, what's the weirdest thing you found? So obviously you mentioned, bikes, tires, lots of things of that nature. But like, I'm even curious too, you see this in movies, right? Like, someone commits a murder and what do they do with the weapon? They go to the bridge and they throw it off the bridge into the waterway. So like, have you ever found maybe an evidence of a crime and maybe helped to solve a crime in that regard yet? Or maybe that's kind of a career goal of yours, to find that.
I have found a rifle wrapped in plastic and electrical tape. It was my first actual real gun find. I was able to call the sheriff's department, give it to them. They found the serial number on there, but they couldn't track it down to anybody. So I ended up getting the gun back after 3 months. It was a nice model 94 Winchester lever action, and it was just really cool treasure to have up on the shelf. I found a lot of like BB guns, BB handguns, and knives, safes, money bags, cash drawers. And try to get a hold of the police every time I find those also, just to try to solve any kind of crime or any kind of cold case.
So why would somebody unload a safe? Or I just can't even fathom. Like, this is beyond my, comprehension of someone actually unloading something like that into a waterway. Like, why would they do that?
Well, it's the easiest place to get rid of it, just tossing off a bridge is evidence. It's a lot easier to throw it in the water than to dig a hole. and have to bury it again and have all the extra dirt left over where people can see there's something there.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's just easy to toss it. It's like they think it's going to disappear. They see it go in the water. They don't see it anymore because it goes down like 10, 15 feet. They think it's gone forever, but it ain't.
Because people like you come and you find it and you turn it over to the rightful people. So it's almost kind of like a warning to those people, right? Like, I will find it almost in a sense. And maybe that's like the rise of your popularity on social media kind of communicates that message. Like, here you are in the water and you're discovering these things.
Yes. And I mean, I have a business, part of my business too is doing recoveries. So when people do lose their items, they recognize, they think of a scuba diver. And of course, my name pops up right away. Ed the diver, let's call him. So I've had calls like from New York to Washington, Nashville, Texas, Florida to do recoveries. But I'm just kind of more local right now, just working in my own area in the Midwest there. But there's never a dull moment in any body of water that you see, whether it be a river, a lake, a quarry. There's always some cleanup that needs to be done in there.
So one of the weird things you found wasn't a weapon, wasn't, any of the other things we've talked about, but you found a Barbie. And for some reason, this Barbie became popular. You've done news shows about the Barbie. You auctioned the Barbie off. What was so special about this Barbie, and why draw so much attention to finding it?
So I guess in the long run, the special thing wasn't the Barbie, but a relationship that happened out of the whole process of finding it, selling it on eBay, and then getting it to the new owner, and it just created a wonderful relationship between myself and a woman named Christy, and she's actually here right now listening in on the interview here.
Good morning.
Good morning, Christy. Well, thanks for joining us and being there and everything. And so what made you say, I want to bid on this Barbie?
Well, I highly respect Ed and everything that he does. And it really wasn't about the Barbie. It was, being able to donate to keeping the waterways clean and everything that he does and supporting him and everything that he does.
And so now you're the proud owner of some Barbie that was in a lake or a river for God knows how long. And but yeah,
she's even here with us right now.
Yeah, that's my understanding. I've been seeing this on social media. Like, as you were in the airport, the two of you, like, he must have found a Ken, just a normal Ken, maybe at the store. I'm guessing, or was that in the water too?
I've had people sending me Ken dolls from all over the United States.
Wow, that's crazy. So the two of you are traveling with these Barbies, continuing the story, continuing the life and the journey of this Barbie doll that was found in the waterway. Ed, which body of water did you find it in?
That was the Wolf River, right by the dam there.
Okay.
Right where the rocks come up to the dam.
Sure.
I was finding a bunch of beer cans and soda cans, and then all of a sudden I seen her legs sticking out of the rocks, and I grabbed it, and I was pretty excited. I was like, yeah, my first Barbie.
Yeah, and again, you kind of wonder, like, and maybe this is something, here's an opportunity for monetization or something like that, but I think you could probably write a children's book about this Barbie and like how it ended up in the waterway. Maybe, like you could tell this Barbie story and write a little children's book or something like that, because you wonder, like, how did it end up there? Like, did a little child lose it while they were, in the water? Or I don't know. It's just, one of those curious things about this all.
Yeah, and it's from 1993 is a date on the back, so who knows? It could have been underwater for 20-some years. And like the grime on it, there's so much grime on it that's just kind of caked on it. So, it's been down there a while. But yeah, it made national news everywhere we go, everywhere Christy goes. People are coming up to her and saying, "Hey, aren't you the Barbie girl? Do you have it with you?"
So take a picture.
Well, that's wonderful. And I think, obviously it raises awareness about your cause, about cleaning the waterways, and just really keeps that in the consciousness of the people. And, as a Catholic priest, Pope Francis, he wrote a number of years ago an encyclical about the care of God's creation. And so this is really what you're doing. You're caring for God's creation, making sure that this world that God created in the very beginning, that we're doing our part to keep it clean and to make sure that it can continue to go on. And so you're playing a small little part in all of that. And, as we maybe talk about care of God's creation, how can we change the mindset, maybe my mindset, our mindset, everybody's mindset about, stop littering and taking better care of the environment?
Yeah, so some of my goals are to educate people of what's going on underwater in our banks, the effects of it, and it's to inspire them to get out and do something to make a difference, and it's also to bring hope to people, and give them hope, and actually people themselves, that if I find something expensive underwater that belongs to somebody, I'm always trying to find the owner, even if it takes me a couple of weeks or a month to dry a phone out or an Apple Watch. Or to post pictures of an expensive fishing rod and reel or a tackle tray full of lures. I try to find the owners all the time, and I think that's one of the things that really helps my channel grow, is showing people that there is hope in mankind. There are good people out there that want to help, and we can. I realize that I can be the hands and feet of Jesus without actually preaching, so I can just show it by actions.
So you do a lot of rivers, which of course are shallower bodies of water, but would you ever go in the Bay of Green Bay?
Yeah, I've been out there up by Menominee area, and I've actually done a couple shotgun recoveries and earring attempts recovery in the Bay. So yeah, I've been out there a few.
Well, if you're ever in the Brussels area in southern Door County on the Bay of Green Bay, you might find a Whitetails Unlimited hat, because it blew off my head one day when we were out in the water and we could not retrieve it. So it was just too difficult to get it out. So you might find my hat one of these days out there. So I know you do a lot of charitable work, because I've seen on social media, you'll bring in, people donate fresh lures or whatever. And kind of the mindset, I think, is you want to teach young people to fish and everything like that. So tell us a little bit about your charitable work and how you're trying to better the lives of others through charity.
Yeah, so the first couple of years, I used to just give lures. I used to, when I was diving, I'd throw lures to kids, or give lures to kids on the banks to help them keep fishing, because I know how expensive they are. I'd give them to older people too, but then we started focusing more on kids over the last few years, and people have been donating fishing poles, like rods, reels, tackle trays, life jackets, pliers, bobbers, all kinds of stuff. And this year it just really blew up. And I got people from all over wanting to donate, but some are too far away. So they don't want to ship it. So I just encourage them to maybe give it to a local shop, a local charity organization, to get those out to kids. But yeah, it's been kind of overwhelming, but it's such a good thing. And for parents to bring their kids in and to see the joy on their face, to get a free rod and reel and free lures. It's been spectacular, and it feels so good to give. It's a blessing.
Well, I think this weekend is opening fishing weekend in the state of Wisconsin for the smaller fish. Obviously, you can do some lake fishing already, but so people will be out on the waterways. They might be losing their lures, so it seems like they'll keep you in business as you keep finding the lures. Now, when you find the lures, what do you do with them afterwards? So you'll collect buckets. You'll see these pictures of yours on social media. So what do you do with them after the fact? Do you recycle them? Do you try to make use of them? Or I guess that's another curious question.
So once I pile them all up in my little buoy board or my kayak, and I bring them home, and I'll lift the whole pile up because they're all stuck together from the line now. I'll throw them on my table, and me and my buddy Sal and Jay will cut them up, cut the lures out, and we'll cut any bad hooks off. Then we'll kind of lay them on the table and organize them, kind of do an estimate of about, how many lures there are and how much they're worth. And then they go to the kitchen where we've got to scrub them. Usually we use a magic eraser to clean them, but if they got a lot of gunk on them, you got to put a little more elbow grease into them with like a thin wire brush and some dish soap. But then after that, we put new hooks on them, rebag them. If the lures are bad, I can recycle them, like remelt lead. Otherwise, I can use the other bad lures as like treasure hunting lures, something that kids can go find during different events, and I make sure all the hooks are off. But then we bag them up, or we make trays, and we sell the trays on my website, or we sell locally here.
So you just kind of described the process here. So you go out on the waterway, you have a kayak. So you jump out of the kayak, go into the water, and then you have to manage to get back into the kayak while it's floating and buoying on the water?
I've done that a few times, but most of the places I go, I can just, I'll bring my kayak or my boogie board right from shore. And so there's no need to get inside of it. So I can just, I have an anchor in my hand. I pull around the anchor and rope. And then I just keep coming up and down with all the stuff that I'm finding underwater.
Wow, that's incredible. I'm just in awe of kind of this work that you're doing and caring for the waterways. It's just very impressive. And I hope as we've had our conversation today, been enlightening to some people and maybe changing our hearts and minds about the disposal of garbage and litter, especially when it comes to being out in a boat or near the water or just in the environment, because it's going to blow around and it's probably going to end up in the waterways. So you're doing great work, Ed, and it's a great joy and honor to have been able to talk to you today and learn a bit more about the work you're doing.
Well, thank you for taking the time to contact me on vacation here, and I hope you have a really blessed day, and I appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah, maybe just as we part, just where can people find you? Obviously on social, you're Ed the Diver, so they just search for you. What platforms are you on, and what's your website?
So my website is edthediver.com. My platforms are Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. I've got a couple 100,000 followers on all those channels, probably close to 300,000 now. And then you can also just, if you want to see some news stories, you can just go on Google, type in Ed the Diver, and go to the news tab, and you'll see a bunch of news coverage over the past few years.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, keep up the good work, Ed. And if you ever find yourself in the Shawano area, don't be afraid to come over to Sacred Heart. Would love to meet you. And maybe we could catch a bite to eat somewhere here in Shawano.
All right. That sounds good. Appreciate it.
If you liked today's episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening. And don't forget to stay up to date with what Father Edward is doing by following him on Facebook, X, or Instagram at the handle @FrEdwardLooney. Thanks for listening, and please join Father Edward again next time for another inspiring conversation.